Without any further delay, we're going to get started. Again, I'm Cecilia. Thank you so much for being here. I have an agenda for today. This is the same presentation that we offer on bi-weekly basis. So if you have already looked at this content with us before, feel free to drop. No problem. I'm going to mute the participants. I'm so sorry, to prevent any feedback. Oh, thank you, Brian. So Brian will be taking care of that for us today. Alrighty. So a little bit of housekeeping. We do have the cms.colorado.gov as a training resource. That is a influx at the moment as we are continuing to develop layouts. We're going to be presenting content for that in the next weeks. So that is going to be changing. You're going to see new content populated on the website. In addition to that, we want to make sure that you make space and you take space. This is intended to be a conversation to show you what is different, answer any questions that you may have about Layout Builder and helping you find things in the media library. But we also ask that you take space and that we just kind of be mindful of our audience as a whole. Okay, so that's all of the housekeeping. This is very casual, very informal. So make sure you raise your hand and make sure that you put your comments in the box. This is a statement regarding Rosen cards, and I think Dave is going to take this one. Good morning, Dave.
Hey, everybody. I just wanted to jump in here. I know we have some people joining, and we're trying to provide some consistent messaging on Rosen cards. As I know, this topic keeps coming up, and so you'll see from us, and I apologize for some of you who feel this is redundant from what we said, but I want to make sure we're covering with language that's in print and hopefully giving you guys some clarity. So I'm going to just read through these comments, and this is something we're going to keep presenting to you. If you have questions, we can take it afterwards or what have you. And happy to always kind of discuss this, but I really just want to try to keep dispelling with consistency any concern about immediate need to move off of Rosen cards. At the same time, you will see we continue to encourage people to learn layouts. That's going to be the future for the Drupal community. It's what's supported, et cetera. So let me just read through this, and if you have questions, certainly can answer them. So the Tyler College CMS platform continues to support the content management tool Paragraphs Rosen cards, or what we call Rosen cards. While Rosen cards functionality is no longer part of Drupal core, Rosen cards remain supported and used throughout the Drupal community as a module. It's pretty popular. As such, Tyler Colorado is committed to continuing to support this tool on the CMS platform that you use, and we intend to support its availability alongside layouts, which as part of Drupal core is the preferred and recommended tool. Cecilia, can you go to the next slide, please? We continue to encourage content managers to explore layouts and leverage layouts features when developing new content or redesigning existing pages. The Layout Builder block headings module enhances site accessibility, lifts design constraints, and empowers site builders and content creators by allowing for the customization of both heading levels and heading styles when block types are configured and when block instances are placed in Layout Builder. I know that's a lot of detail, but Cecilia can also share with you, and we continue to share in these trainings where the advantages and features are of layout. So it'll be a journey to really get to know layouts, but they are there. It's not just because that's what's in Drupal core. We believe, as does the Drupal community, that layouts is a more advantageous solution. The Tyler CMS team will inform customers of any proposed change in Rosen cards availability on the CMS platform with sufficient advance notice to enable those customers with content on Rosen cards to adopt the use of layouts as a recommended tool in the future. As we've said before, we've heard you in terms of knowing and understanding what the need is and the burden is to potentially move a lot of content at one time from Rosen cards to layouts. So we're committed to providing sufficient advance notice if and when Rosen cards would be not available on the platform. We do not have a time frame or a plan to remove it from the platform at this time. The Tyler CMS team is scheduling training for Layout Builder with entities now. So in addition to these bi-weekly sessions, please reach out to partner support to request a session, as Cecilia is often asking you to do. And online training and written documentation are also in development based on the feedback from these initial sessions. So we really appreciate your patience. Please advise if you have questions about this, but this is something that we'll continue to try to make sure that you have at your disposal should other people on your teams be asking about what's going on with Rosen cards.
Thank you so much, Dave. In addition to that, we want to make sure that I provide you with an agenda of what we're hoping to cover today. I know that sometimes we stop for questions, and that is totally fine. I'm happy to demonstrate whatever it is that you have questions about. Also, if you need for us to do a one-on-one session, as David mentioned, please reach out to partner support at www.colorado.gov. If you have received an email from me ever on my signature line, there is a link to my availability, and it is super up to date because it pulls out of our calendar system. So if you need to further explore, or this group setting is too large and you prefer to have just a list of questions that we can go through, I have done that with multiple entities. So make sure that you reach out so that we could have all of your questions answered. And if you have identified anything that is not looking okay or is not displaying as expected, let me know. We'll have the call and we will have the developers have a look at it. Alrighty. So the first thing that we're going to attempt to do today is make sure that everybody understands how to authenticate. And I believe for the most part, this level of government is using their Google single sign-on. So with your permission, I'm going to switch over to my other screen so that we could go ahead and get this started. I am at the moment authenticated. You would know that because you have these visual indicators. I have my main administrator or my main admin, that's what we call them, these menus, and you could toggle here to see all of your modules at the top, but you also have the ability to leverage shortcuts. If there are your frequently touched pieces of the website, you could favor those by clicking on the star, and I will show you when we go to these places. And then you have this third one, which is where you would log off. In our previous experience, we would click on the Drupal logo, the little drop of water, and then from there we will log off from the platform. So here it is just you click on your avatar right here, and you have the ability to log out. Now, for those of you who are just new, I do understand that some agencies are onboarding new people, and there's a little bit of turnaround in some of our agencies. To log on to the website that you have been assigned, you're just going to enter the entire domain, and towards the end, you're going to do /user. And this will carry you to your login page where you can leverage either a user or password, like some of our towns and counties and even fire districts leverage the user and the password. But if you have your single sign-on, just go ahead and click on this and then select the email account that is attached to this Drupal. In my case, it's going to be this eGov1. And this is going to take you to what we call what you guys call the back end. So you will have some visual indicators that you are authenticated because now I have two sets of menus. And again, what displays on your sub menu is depending on these three top options. This is slightly different from our Drupal 9 experience. I just wanted to make sure that we could get to the modules because this is a question that has come up a lot in partner support. So once you are in the back end here, you're able to just see your profile. And from here, if you needed to execute any edits, you could click on this ribbon. There is an edit option and you can look at your own account and you can make edits here. Now, if you are not a user administrator, you will need to reach out to the entity project manager at your organization to execute this if you needed to change from lesser to greater privileges. Okay. The one thing that we wanted to do first is to talk about the content, right? Let me just make sure that you guys are following along. The content module is where most of the work happens. This is where you're going to be developing the items that you're going to display, uploading your images, and uploading your documents. Okay. So if you are following along, just make sure that to access your content module, you click, tap, or select the content tag here, and it's going to bring you to what we call the media library. Now, remember we mentioned that we have the ability to shortcut items. Here, next to the tag for this module, I have selected the star, and that is what is going to add it to my shortcuts. And I'm not sure if my display, give me a thumbs up if you see this. I think you guys can see. All right. So all of the items that I have added to my shortcuts will have that gold star. Now, when you are in this module, this is your media library, and your default tab is going to be the content. Content speaks to all of the different items that are native to the site. That is basic pages, articles, that could be anything from a layout content type. All of your content types are going to be housed under the content tab of your media library. And I'm trying to speak very slow because I had feedback that I speak very fast. So if I speed up, Brian, tell me to slow down, okay? So this is your first tab, and here you would have breadcrumbs to go back to your home, but additionally, you have a table, and this table has pagination at the bottom. So all of your content is housed here, and you could progress with the pagination here, right? Now, you have the ability to use these parameters at the top to expedite your search by limiting what you're displaying on your table. Additionally, these headers that are highlighted, you could toggle those to be in reverse order and manipulate. The most recently updated item is the one that is going to show by default, but you could reverse this by just manipulating the headers on your table. Additionally, you have the ability to execute functions in bulk by selecting this actions option. Now, one thing to caution is that once you do delete the content cannot be retrieved. It is a super deletion type of experience. So make sure that you're mindful not to delete items by accident, because we may not be able to retrieve those for you. However, you can narrow all of your, say that you're an agency that has upwards of 1,000 pages, you could narrow them down by the content type. And once the result retrieves your hits, you could go ahead and sort them by status, by author, by date updated. You can execute the functions of editing from the very far right. Okay. Now, there's two things that I'm going to show you now, because we have the editing from the media library option that is going to take you directly to the back end of your different content types. I'm just going to demonstrate, and then we're going to go back and talking about basic pages and layouts. Okay. So when we are in the media library and I have already narrowed down this content, this is my list of results. If I wanted to edit this particular page, I have two options. I can do that by selecting the edit operation on the very far right, and this is going to take me back to the edit screen. Okay, I'm going to click back on my browser. My other option is to click on the link for the page itself. And this is what we refer to as editing from the web view, because this is what that user experience is going to be like. And then you could click on edit. So you have multiple ways of editing your content. And if you're ever in doubt, make sure that you click on content. It will take you to the media library. And from there, you will have your list of results. Are we good thus far? We good okay right now? Everybody okay?
Yeah, Cecilia, I did want to bring out just one thing. It looks like we're seeing a few reports in the chat that people don't have the shortcuts option. So it looks like we just need to make a note for later to check with the development team on if there's a permissions issue with that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Brian.
Yep.
Do we have I'll look at the agency so that I could create a card.
Yep.
Shortcuts. Okay, and by that, what I mean is that when we identify something that is not behaving as expected, we create a card for our software engineers to work the case and bring resolution. That's why I'm going to find the individuals who have reported that it doesn't display, so that I can reach out directly to you and let you know when it has been fixed. Alrighty, thank you so much. That is very, very helpful. Okay, so what we want to do now is, now that we have identified where you would find your existing content, you're not a brand new website, your assignment is to edit a page, you will find your page here. Now, in order for you to create a new piece of content, we would like for you to tap, select, or click on Add Content, this pill menu on the very top left of your screen, and you would have the list of all of the available content types for you to pick one. The alert, we know that is the one that shows at the top of the website. Articles are used heavily, basic pages. Contacts allows you to have kind of like a Rolodex. You can leverage that for if you have an about us or our team type of display, you could create those. And we're happy to walk you through these different content types. If you still have questions, just make sure you schedule a one-on-one with us, and we'll be more than happy to show you. The one we wanted to look at today is the basic page because it's by far the most frequently used card, that the type of content that we have. Now, the reason why we're taking the time to share this with you is because things have changed, and we want to make sure that you feel empowered to make the edits that need to be executed on your website. In order to create a basic page, the only field that is required, and this is true to your Drupal 9 experience, is the title. So let's provide a title here. Let us say that today is 17 January. And this is all. This is all that is required. Now, there was a concern about the preview not showing, so I wanted to demonstrate that here. If you wanted to have a preview of what your page looks like, you could do that by selecting the second pill menu here, the menu option that is in gray. You want to click on preview, and this is even before you have saved the page. It could still be in your draft moderation state, but you still have a preview option, okay? And this is on the rows and cards paragraph. Now, when you see this pink background, that is a visual indicator that your page is not published. If I wanted to go back to what I was working on, I'm just going to go to the top left corner, and it's going to take me back to the content. And as you notice, all of my edits have been retained. While I'm here, I wanted to share that the embedding option has changed in our Drupal 9 experience. We had the character E for embed. Now those are displayed in these two separate functions. This one with the musical note, it denotes that it comes from the media library. So it's going to pull different images that you already have in your media library. You will scroll to the bottom, and if you had more pages, it will show, and then you will insert this item, okay? This item is going to observe the formatting that you provided when you imported the image. Now, if you click on this, you have the ability to make this a call to action by adding a link to something that is external or something that is internal from your website. Additionally, you could just reposition the image as it relates to the paragraph right there. All right, so that is the first option. We will be pulling entities that are coming from my media library. If I wanted to have a return, I would just click there, and it just gave me a return. Not sure that you can see it clearly here. Now, the second option is to insert media from your device. And I have some sample images here on my device, and it will allow you to insert it at this point, and at this junction, you can enter your alternative text. Now, be mindful that because you haven't inserted this into the media library, this is just it's inserted on the node. It's not referencing anything from the media library, so it's not going to have the same permissions. This is a different type of insert option, okay? If you were to indicate that this is a decorated item, you could do it so. And this is where you have the ability to resize your image. You could add the URL if it is an external, or you could just search for the media library. If I wanted for this particular page to point to home, a list of my options in the content or in the files will appear, and then I can make the necessary selections here. And there you will see that this is linking to node 9999, which for everybody is your home page. If I wanted to get a return, and it tells you here, I don't know that you could see it, but there is a little feedback there. There is a little indicator that there is a hyperlink on this image right here. Now, if you did not include the alternative text, you will have an alert on the bottom corner indicating that you need to add your alternative text. And at this point, I'm going to make sure this page is published, and I'm going to save so that you could view. It will always ask you if you want this page to be published. And there is the basic page. Nothing has changed. We still have the ability to leverage all of the revisions. This allows you to, if you have seasonal content that needs to be out for 3 months and then revert to the previous version, it allows you to do that. When you are editing your page, you can still leverage your revision log to indicate or document the changes or communicate the changes, or whatever internal processes you have could be reflected by leveraging the revision log. Now, here you have still the ability to add a menu setting. You still have the ability to process your URL redirects, and you also have the ability to change the URL just by deselecting the automatic URL generation feature. Authoring is still going to be there. I think this is, I don't know that we have to go in depth about authoring, but every node is linked to the operator. That's why when you delete content, you have to be very careful, because if you delete a user and you do not assign the content to the anonymous user, all of the content will go with it. So that's where authoring comes into play. And then there is a date stamp, which is what points to the revision. So this is consistent with our Drupal 9 experience. Now, a few of these items have changed. They look a little bit different, but the functionality remains the same. We do have tables, and we do have accordions. We do have font awesome, and we do have anchors here. I know that in the past, font awesome used to be a flag as well. So the font awesome icon for CK Editor 5 is this one here that has 4 different icons. So you don't have to try to figure out which one is which. Also, your link it feature has changed from being 2 separate chain link icons to a single icon. When you select your anchor text and you click, tap, or select the chain link, you can execute the function here for both, for the absolute path and for the relative path. Okay. So how are we doing on time? We're at 23. All right. So we're going to scroll to the bottom. We're going to make sure that we save. Yes, we are saving. And to locate your item, you want to click onto the content, and you will see that sample for today's training is at the top, because the sort is updated with the most recent content at the top. Now, these are the pieces that I refer to as native to the site, the things that you can create on your website. But to make your website unique, you want to make sure that you add your documents and that you add your beautiful pictures. So for that, on this media library, you're going to go to the media tab, and you're going to have the same presentation. You're going to have the ability to add a media, but you have some parameters to filter the content if you're searching for content that is already there. And again, the default is the most recent update will be always at the top, but this is just like the content tab. It's a table that you can edit just by manipulating the parameters or the headings. And there is pagination at the bottom, so all of your content will be here. Now, if you wanted to add an image, I ask that you tap, click, or select that Add Media Hill button, and then you have the document option at the top, and you could just insert a document from here. Let me point to this. Let's do lorem ipsum. Come on. Alrighty, so this is the PDF document. It is just a sample document, and I could just say this is the name here. And again, there is no limits. This is an open text field. You could use whatever naming convention your organization is asking for you to observe when entering items into the media library. But I'm just going to say lorem ipsum because this is a sample. And there is your document. I can add a description. I can also add related tags if you wanted to leverage that. And I have revision log here at the bottom. So this is just the functionality. This is how you add your document. Now, if I go back to add a media item, it's going to take me one step back, and I'm going to be able to add an image. I'm going to browse on my device. I'm going to do these images here. Let me try this one. And here, you're going to see that things are similar to Drupal 9. Just want to make sure that you see it's the same. You have the ability to add your alternative text. You put a name, and then here is where you're going to apply those crops. This CMS contains 2 cropping options. The featured crop is for when you're leveraging the featured image at the top of your basic pages. You can also do that in your layout builder. You could add a featured image. So you're not going to see it, but once you click on the image, you're going to expand these boundaries and you will select the image portion that you want for that featured crop. Similarly, for our hero crop, you're going to click, hold, and expand, and just select the portion of this image that you would like to display as a jumbo slide. The jumbo slides are going to be populated in the Jumbotron. If you're leveraging the hero row, that opportunity for a splash of color, something dynamic, you could go ahead and select this crop. Now, be mindful that the best resolution that we recommend for images that are going to be intended for this purpose is 1920 times 450. And I have a little cheat sheet that I could share with you so that you could upload your images as close to those recommendations as possible, so that the images do not display pixelated and your end user is going to have a pleasant user experience, right? So these are the two that are available for you to apply. If you scroll to the bottom, you will notice that this is very similar. You can add your related tags. You can actually leave revision log messages that are going to stay with this node. So this is the difference between adding an item from your device or leveraging the media library. The media library will allow you to just reference that node on multiple places on your website, as opposed to having to import the image every single time from your device at the node level. Do we have any questions so far?
No, and I don't see anything in the chat. I think there's been some communications in the chat, but I think we've been able to answer it there. There's some partner support cases that'll be put in. But I think as for questions to cover during this, I think we're good, Cecilia.
Okay, I'm trying to be mindful of time. So we're halfway through. I'm going to jump into layouts if it's okay with y'all so that we could cover this. So let's go back into CMS and we'll go ahead and build the layout together. Before I move to layouts, I wanted to let you guys know that we are aware of the redundancy with the word layout, right? When you look at the media library, we have a content type that is named layout. It's down here. When you select the add content piece, this is the one that we're going to be using, okay? In addition to that, when you are in your content module, you would notice that there is a layouts tab in your media library. This is where you would house your templates, okay? So this is from our Drupal 9 experience when we had all of those templates and items that we added to our layouts library. This is where they're housed. Another thing I wanted to mention is that if you are looking for your blocks are no longer under the structure tab. Your blocks are located in your media library. Okay. So in the past, we would go into structure to block layout, and then we will have the block layout library. Your blocks are still on the database, on the website. They're just in your media library under blocks. Now, the files are still here. I'm trying to remember all of the questions we have gotten through this partner support queue. These are all of your files. So you can also access your files through here. If you have questions, feel free to stop me. If not, for the interest of time, I'm going to jump real quick into layouts. All right. So under the content module, in the content section of your media library, you're going to add content by select, click, or tap on the button to add it. You're going to scroll to the bottom. It is an alphabetical sort. And here we're going to add a layout. Now, the layout allows you to pull in a featured image from the media library. And that's why those boundaries that you have applied to your images are important, so that the image could display. Okay, so you want to make sure that you always select those boundaries, even if the image is to the recommended size. Just make sure that you apply the cropping so that your image displays as expected, okay? Let me just click there real quick. It's just going to pull from the images that you already have in your media library. It will be something like that. Select, and there it is. So based on where I applied those boundaries, that is how the image will render. I'm going to delete that because that's not what we want to do. But here, the only required field will be the title. Let's do a sample layout and just change the date. Today is 17 January 24. All right. This is the only required field. You would notice on the right-hand navigation that some familiar features are there. You have the revision log, you have the menu setting. If I wanted to add a menu link, I could do it from here. And I have also here at the bottom, the URL aliasing. So if you wanted to make sure that you could change whatever the URL shows, you could just enter the information here. The authoring information is still going to be here. And then at the bottom, the one thing that I wanted to point out before we move is that the default for the layout builder is to be published. So if you're not ready and you're still iterating and you're still making edits on your site, please, please, please deselect this published option, because different from paragraphs, rows, and cards, the default in the layout content type is to be published. Okay, you still have your preview option. You still have your link it feature. You have your insert from your device situation. This is here. I'm just going to make this a decorative item for the moment, and I'm not going to put a link on this one so that you can see. If I wanted to pull in the boundaries a little bit to make it smaller, I could resize it here. I could hit a return and it will give me a space at the bottom. And if I wanted to pull something from my media library, I could do that as well. So this is just review from what we did before. I have my font awesome and I have all of my different features here like you would in any other editor. Now I'm going to scroll to the bottom and I'm going to save this. And once I save the page, you will notice that I have the pink background, which is a visual indicator that the page is still in the draft moderation state, right? However, on my ribbon, now I have a layout tab. This is where we're going to click, tap, or select so that you can start to build the layout, okay? Now, this is going to be a little bit different. This is new. I ask that you play around, get in there, and try to explore this feature so that you're familiar with all of the differences. And if you have any questions when you're playing around, just shoot us an email at partner support and we'll be happy to walk you through it, or again, schedule a one-on-one to further discuss. Now, the ribbon at the top is similar, but then you have all of these other kind of areas that will be providing you information about this layout builder. The one thing that I wanted to point out is that there is a dashed line that will indicate the boundary of the section. Remember, this is the piece that we added on the body, right? This is what we added in the body, similar to when we had the body of the page and then we went into rows and cards. The only difference is that in rows and cards, you couldn't view the body until you were in preview. And here you could view both the body and your sections and blocks. Okay, and I will scroll down to further explain. This section 1 is actually the body. This is the image that we entered. If I wanted to insert a different block in this section, I could just select here. Your panel will pop up on the right, and then you can select a block. If we wanted to do a media block, this will pull from the media library. If I wanted to do simple maps, this is still powered by Google, so it is the same. Let me add the address. Alrighty, if I wanted to apply a background color, I don't like to have it compete with the graphics, so I'm not going to apply any styling to this particular block. That is just my preference, but you're happy, you could do whatever you want to do. You're happy to explore and see how that looks. And now you would notice that this block is added underneath the first block, and I have these 4 directional arrows that allow me to pull this up or down and reorganize my content there. Okay, now this is all in that first block. If I wanted to add a different section, instead of selecting add a block, I will select add a section. And when I add a section, a different dialog is going to populate, and this is just going to give me the option so I could tell the system how many columns I want. Now, the distribution would be different than what we had, because in Drupal 9, when we had rows and cards, the distribution of the rows, those were displayed in fractions. This is just percentages, but it's all the same. So you will notice that as I drop down, this is basically the 1/3, 2/3, right? And you could decide how you want your content to display. Now, when I scroll down, this is section 2, and you see the little perforated line there. This is my 1/3, this is my 2/3. So it is a similar experience than what you had with rows and cards. It's just that now I have the flexibility to move a block from one section to another one, which expedites my process, right? So if I just wanted to add a basic block, and here I just wanted to add some sample text. Oops, let me go down here. I could definitely add the block here, and then I can move the block either within the same line, the same section, or alternatively, I could take it and put it on my other section atop. So you have the body, a new block that we created from the layout builder, and this block that belonged to section 2, but I have since moved it back to section 1. And if I wanted to move that down, I can move it to here. Is this making sense so far? Do we have any questions?
Would you be able, Cecilia, to show putting a menu on that left-hand side? There's a couple of questions in there about how you add left side navigation to pages and layouts.
Sure, let me give it a try. I know we had this question the previous time. Let me see if I could do from this particular, let's do main navigation. Let me not display the title. And then for the menu levels, I'm just going to do the initial, and then here I'm just going to do 1 and 1. And then I'm not going to expand any menu links. And for color, let me see if I have that gray sand. Okay, the colors are different. I just realized that the colors are different from the entire library of colors that we have. So for the moment, I'm just going to select the dark blue as the background. And as far as the border, I'm not sure if that is of interest to anyone. So we're just going to do the color for now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll to the bottom, and I would like to add, let me see if I can add a footer here. Let me do a control find, and let me find footer. That is a footer. Let me see where else. Okay. I think we called it main site footer, and I haven't referenced it here quite yet. Let's just add this footer. This is from our testing, so it's not particular to anything. It's just a footer. And I'm just going to add that at the bottom. Let me edit this to show you that I could configure this and change the color. If we were to do what color want to contrast, let's just do dark blue and let us save it, right? And this is section 3 that I just added. So we have some differentiation from section 1, section 2, and section 3. I'm going to scroll to the top, and I'm going to save my changes so that we could view the drafted version of this page. Okay. And here I still have the pink background. I know that is a little bit troublesome, but it's just to indicate that this is in the draft state, right? That is my first section that I created with the body. Remember, during the layouts, I was able to add more features to, for this to be a feature-rich experience. So I added a block. And then at the bottom, you see this is my menus here. And this is the basic block that we had moved up to section 1 and then replaced it in section 2. And then this here is the footer. Does that answer your question? This is working as pointing out to the previous content that I had that was built using rows and cards, because it's a link to a node that is in my library, in my media library. So it's not, you don't have to reference only things created with Layout Builder. This is linking out to a node that exists, even though it was created with rows and cards. We have a frequently asked questions page that is linked here, again, built with rows and cards. And I wanted to link that instead of to a rows and card page to a layout. It's just linking to content that is in my media library. And it could be documents, it could be reports, it could be ordinances. I'm trying to figure out remember what other content we do at regulations, anything that you need to reference from your media library. If I wanted to make edits here onto the first block, just remember that this first block is the body. So if I wanted to make edits to that first section, I want to go back just like I would in rows and cards. If I want to edit the body, I want to do that here. And if I wanted to make this published, then that pink background would go away. And again, I chose to have the labels display, but you could hide the label that is the title for these. This is just to indicate what it is. For instance, on this menu, I hid the menu. This is what it will look like if I display the title of the block. Do we have additional questions?
We do have a question in the chat just confirming that a footer has to be manually added to every layouts page.
At the moment, yes, that is the experience at the moment.
It does look like we have a question in here from Sonia, or more so an issue rather, where she's going to add a featured image from media and it's only pulling a few images. I think we've seen that issue before. Isn't that correct, Cecilia?
Yes, and yes, we have a developer working on that already. That is a known issue, and we wrote that deficit, not that deficit, we wrote up the bug, and we're working on it because we were identifying if it was isolated to one of the sites that reported it to us. But yes, it has been reported, and our team is heads down working on that. And we're working on your categories view, Sonia. We found that the display was pulling additional fields. I haven't forgotten about it. They're working on it. So nice. We should have it fixed. We're just trying to make sure that we identify what is coming through so we could clean it up for you. But I did put the card. It's just a matter of finding that root cause and solving it. And we need to make sure it's not happening on other sites as well. So do we have any more? Let me open the chat here to see if I could help.
There was one question that was asked. It was almost 10 minutes ago, so I'm not exactly sure what they're referring to, but asking to reiterate that publish tidbit.
On the basic page or on the landing page?
I'm assuming on the landing page.
Okay, alrighty. So let me just, with your permission, I'm gonna switch back to, I'm sorry, I always have to ask. Okay, so when we are in the edit, if you scroll down on the body of your layout, you will notice that there is a checkbox for you to toggle off and on. This is for your publish. When I am creating a landing page, the default is that this checkbox is selected. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up, I apologize if I have caused any confusion, is that if you are creating a page and you're not ready for it to be visible to your constituents, just deselect that option so that your page will be in the draft moderation state. We don't want for you to go ahead and just click away, save it, and you start to work on layouts and the page is not complete. And some constituent finds your content that is not as you want it for it. It's not ready for prime time, right? So just be mindful that when I go into content and I create a basic page or any other type of content that is built with the paragraphs, and I'm sorry for the super scroll, at the very bottom, the default is the draft moderation state. Okay, so this is the default for the basic page. If I were to add a brand new layout and I scroll to the bottom, you're going to notice that the default is the publish moderation state. So I just want to caution you that if this is not ready for prime time, just toggle off of the publish. Okay, does that answer the question, Brian?
It looks like they Yes, understood, but it also looks like they were interested in landing pages
Landing
for
pages. Let's
publishing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's have a look. So the landing page is similar to your homepage. Your homepage happens to be a landing page, and you're not going to have the body. You're just going to go straight into rows and cards, right? So when you are in the content, add content, it's going to be right above your layout builder. And for this one, if you scroll, this one, I have nothing built, so it's like right there. The moderation state is draft by default.
There are a couple of other questions in the chat, Cecilia. We want to get to those.
Sure.
The first one I'm not entirely sure of. Where can we delete the machine name for block titles? As if we already created one block with a title and delete it, I couldn't name the block the same name.
Okay, I think I understand where that comes from, because when you have your layout, there is all of this content within this layout that is going to be referenced, like when you're adding a block, right? So the labels are these down here. These are all of those labels that they're referring to. For instance, when you create a block and you have to give it that attribute, that title, right? This needs to be a unique one, because you're gonna, it's creating that list. It populates in this list down here that we saw. If that is what the question is, if I'm creating an icon, this title is that attribute that is going to be, that needs to be unique. It would not allow you to save it. I'm not certain if I am answering the person's question.
I believe so. Oh,
Okay.
yes, but we're going to delete it.
To delete it, I'm not certain if you could. I need to double check with the developers, because I do know that they all get aggregated here. And if you're not in use of it and you want to reuse the tag or that little attribute, I have to verify exactly where to get it. So that is a question that I don't know the answer for, but it's wonderful. And I'm going to write it down so that I can add this is a bunch of questions I have for our amazing team. They don't know it, but this is another question for them. And I will let you know, who's the person so I could get back to them?
Tong?
Okay, Tong. Okay, I got you. I'm going to find this. And I will let you know, Tong. Any additional questions? I think we have some time. We have a good 11 minutes.
There is one more from Daniel. Is it similar, or are layouts similar to rows and cards where you can't alter the number of columns once you create the section? Basically, you have to create a new section and move the content if you want to modify the number of columns?
That is, well, as far as I know, yes, because you're configuring the line. Let us see if we could add another one. Let's explore. Well, now what hasn't changed is the distribution. So I believe in this example that the distribution, the weight of the block remains that 1/3, 2/3. If you recall, this one was a 1/3, 2/3 section. But I did add a block to the 2/3. If I add this block over here, it's still going to retain the 1/3 configuration. So there are some flexibilities that are afforded to us by using sections and blocks. However, it is my understanding that if you want to configure the section, then I will add another section and then utilize the columns and determine the distribution. And within that distribution, I can move the cards. Hopefully that answers your question. There is loads of flexibility, but as I understand it, the sections are configured and you will need to move your blocks around. But it is different than rows and cards that you had to start from scratch.
Okay. And
Did
that
that
is all I
answer?
currently see. Actually, Tong just came in with a new one. How do I edit the text in a block?
How do I edit the text on a block? So when I am in this particular, this was a basic block. I'm going to use the one that we already created. And when you place your mouse or you select or you tap, you will notice that this icon will appear on the very top right corner of your block. So you want to click, tap, or select, and then configure. And your basic block would then bring your WYSIWYG with your CK5 editor. And if you scroll a little bit to the bottom, you're going to see the styles there. And if you do this other, you have the background, the spacing, the animation, all that good stuff in there. So if I had displayed the basic block, let us just test taking it off after I had applied it, so that I have an actual change to save. And I'm going to select a background color. I don't want it to be too much, but there we go. And I have updated, and there is my sample text. And you notice that it took away my title field. And as I hover, I could select configure, and then I could apply some other formatting. Let's say I'm going to enter a table. Just for the example, this makes totally no sense, but there is my table. Does this answer your question, sir?
Tong is saying, I don't get that. Assuming don't get that option.
Could you save your page? And when it creates the node, I'm going to ask you, sir, to send an email to partnersupport@www.colorado.gov with that URL, exactly how you have it, with the error that it's not displaying, so that I could further research, and then I could reach out to our software engineer so they could have a look. Because I am signed in as myself, and if it is a permissions thing, I must have a look at the URL to see what root cause is for this. But at first blush, I'm not sure. I don't want to guess and guess wrong. I'm going to try it on this other block to see if it gives me the, yes, I see it. Yeah. Tom, are you, could you send me that email through partner support so that I could further investigate?
Yep, we got a confirmation in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll be on the lookout for that ticket, because I have not, we haven't seen that happen before on a basic block. If you are experiencing any type of issues with layouts or with anything, make sure to send an email to partnersupport@www.colorado.gov, and we'll be happy to look at items for you. I think there's a raised hand. Somebody had raised their hand.
There is one more question in the chat, Cecilia, if we could just quickly answer that. Can you rearrange sections and layouts?
The sections, let me have a look real quick. Let's test that together. So when I place the cursor on the section itself, it seems to be wanting to move the block. The section, though, let me see if I could this is to delete the section. Let me have a look. So you want to remove the section. It tells me that the action cannot be undone. But the 4 directional arrows are displaying to me for the section block, not the section itself. So you see there's this division here and here, but I do not show a way that I can move the entire section without pinching the block. Let me try this. That's the header, that's a block again. Configure section 3. This is something that I will have to ask our software engineers, our Drupal team, if there is flexibility on moving the sections. As it stands right now, I do not have the answer to that question. Do you know the name of let's capture
Yes, that's from Daniel.
All right, I got your question, and we're going to make sure that we circle back to you and answer, because I do not think that is or at least it's not known to me. We have 4 more minutes if you guys want us to cover anything, or if you have any feedback, the good, the bad, the ugly, just let us know. Going once, going twice. Which means nothing, because you can still send me an email through partner support and the team will make sure that we have visibility. By that, I mean that if I am offering one of these training sessions, or if I am doing a one-on-one, we also have additional project managers who are amazing, like Brian, that can answer your questions if I am not available. Again, I wanted to say thank you for taking the time to attend these sessions. As the layouts builder continues to evolve and more updates come to core, more features are going to become available, and we will continue to provide these training and support sessions as long as you guys want them. We don't have an end date to these biweekly sessions, but this is not the only opportunity. If this is not the right setting for you and you prefer to have a one-on-one, again, partner support, put in a ticket and I'll go ahead and provide my availability, or you could just grab it from any email that I have sent you in the past. It's on that footer right there. Again, my name is Cecilia Henley. I am your product manager for Drupal. If there is anything that you need, know that I'm a resource to you. I'm going to open it up to our directors, Dave, Alexa, if there is anything that you want to share with the team. If not, we'll call it.
Nothing for me, Cecilia. Just thanks everybody to the team, and thanks everybody for attending these sessions. Please let us know if there's ways that we can improve them.
Thank you, Dave. And I wanted to say thank you to Brian for always being there to support us with monitoring the chat and answering questions while I'm demoing things. Thank you so much, Alexa, for being here. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to send us an email at partnersupport@www.colorado.gov. And if there aren't any additional questions, I will see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Cecilia.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful day, guys. Hi, Krista.
I think I was supposed to leave the meeting and I'm just still here working away.